Hey everyone, my name is Madison with Everest Direct Mail and Marketing in Asheville, North Carolina. Today, we're going to talk about real estate investor direct mail marketing. A lot of people don't know this, but 99% of all of our revenue comes in from real estate investors and home flippers. And if you're watching this video, I'm guessing that you're either a real estate investor or you are looking at getting into real estate investing. If you're getting into real estate investing, then you probably don't know this. If you're already in it, you definitely know this, that direct mail is one of the best ways of acquiring awesome, profitable deals for flipping homes, apartments, duplexes, you name it, even commercial properties. We have REIs that span from $500 million companies all the way down to a mom and pop that simply does maybe 1 to 5 flips a year. So there's a whole bunch of videos on our YouTube channel that is related to real estate investing, so I suggest you check them out. There is one video that I do suggest everybody to check out, and that's called How Postage Works, which is also on our channel, and that basically tells you how you can get postage discounts and how you can kind of plan your mailing lists around how to get the best postal discounts possible, and also the hard truth that it seems like you're paying us a lot of money to send out a bunch of mail pieces, but the majority of that money is actually going to USPS. So let's go ahead and dive in, and we're going to tackle first basics of real estate investor direct mail. We are going to start off with the 40-40-20 rule. So what this basically means is that 40% of your mail campaign should be mailing list. The other 40% should be the message, and then 20% is the actual content, the physical mail piece, the color of the envelope here, the stamp, the handwriting, the insert, and so on and so forth, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But first, we'll just tackle the first 40% of the mailing list. Now, this is applicable across the board. If you're doing bandit signs or billboards or television commercials, it really boils down to who you're targeting, number one. So if you send out a mailing list to a bunch of governmental entities that own a bunch of property, you're probably going to get 0% return, no matter what your message or the mail piece content is made up of. So for the mailing list, it is imperative that you work with an updated mailing list from a reputable source. So we're going to talk about that next. There are a ton of sources on the internet that you can actually get really bad data from, and we suggest you not going that direction. And if a couple other ways you can do it is you can buy a list, you can aggregate your own list, and so on and so forth. So a couple of quick recommendations that you can go through us, or you can go directly to that competitor, that data competitor. So essentially, there's one company in the United States that hands down has the most in-depth geographic information data, and that is called CoreLogic. And they have a sub-company called ListSource, and that is where the best lists that we buy for our customers come from. There's another company that tons of REIs have already heard of. They subscribe to for like kind of their CRM that also has real-time mailing list data, and that is RealFlow. And RealFlow has something called lead pipes that you can download, cash buyers, and basically a bunch of transactional data, absentee, in-state, out-of-state, high equity, so on and so forth, from all over the United States. RealFlow's data seems to be pretty up-to-date and accurate, but if you're wanting the upper echelon stuff, definitely ListSource is the way to go. You may have to use a company like us or another company out there that has their brokerage license with CoreLogic in order to buy some of these lists, but we can certainly help you out for there. And remember, a lot of these videos are meant to be informational. We're going to say Everest Direct Mail, or we're going to promote our business, but we have real estate investors that don't do any business with us that call us for advice or ask us some questions, and they're just doing their own campaign. Let's say you're doing 500 pieces a month. You know, a couple Saturday, you get a friend, a 6-pack of beer, and you can fold the inserts yourself and put them out in the mailbox, and you actually probably will end up saving money that way. So, but if you're doing a whole bunch of pieces a month, like we have some real estate investors that do hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pieces every single month, obviously you need some automated equipment, which the other advantage about us and Everest, and I'll promise I'll stop name dropping, is that we do all the production in-house. We do not outsource anything. So that means that we are a full service production mail house. So there's no middlemen marking up stuff. I mean, pretty much the only thing that we outsource would be our mailing list, and that's it. Everything else is 100% in-house. So that's a one-stop shop. Going back to the 40-40-20 rule, so 40% is your mailing list. Once you get a good mailing list, once you actually downlist and it's like perfect, let's say you're looking for absentee in-state owners with zero that had bought cash, had whatever. They might be a high equity owner. They have owned the house for 30 years. They might be in an age group between like 60 and 70, so they're looking at downsizing pretty soon. So you got your mailing list, and that's great. So the second 40% makes up of message. And of course, every REI really has the same message, right? We want to buy your house for cash. So that's fast closing, same day deposit, $5,000 earnest money, paid on day, $100 Chili's gift card, anything like that. That's kind of your bulk message. And you want your message and branding to kind of tie in together. And we see a lot of really creative REIs out there that tie in their branding, as in like, fair cash offers home buyers. And then it's like, hey, listen, we want to give you a fair cash offer. A really good example of this is another direct mail company that was advertised in the 40-40-20 rule. They gave a great example, and essentially what they said is that, of course, message is 40% and your mail piece is only 20%. And a great example to that is that if you have 40% of your mail piece being the message, the proof is in the pudding. If you look at a car dealership, if I was giving away free Lexuses, I can simply mail a mail piece. I have 500 pieces with a little piece of paper or a handwritten marker that says I'm giving away free Lexuses. You just have to be at this address on Saturday at 9 a.m., I'm going to get 150 people out of that campaign to show up. So, and the content, the actual mail piece really didn't matter. And then finally, you have 20%, and that is the content. So that's like the mail piece itself. So that's like the type of paper, the envelope, is the postcard coded or not, or is it matte cover or text weight, is it bond? And you could go on and on and on and on. We see a lot of people, and not just the real estate investor industry, but all sorts of different industries spend an enormous amount of time picking the right envelope color or the gradients and having the right Pantone fonts being perfect. And if you're a major Fortune 500 company or even Fortune 5000 company, that's great because you have a brand to protect. But in reality, in your industry as an REI, you don't need to worry about any of that stuff. You just need to focus on the message. We are going to talk a little bit about what we call engagement with the mail piece, and that's incredibly important when it comes to the content. Not so much the colors of the envelope and the little characteristics on it, but what you really want to focus on is the engagement factor, which we'll talk about. So just like I said before, there's another video called, how postage works. But one thing I would want to mention is that your major cost that's built into a campaign. So if you've never done a direct mail campaign before, I'll kind of break it down what to expect on your first quote. First off, the biggest element per piece is going to be postage. So you're looking at, let's say it's 2017 right now, postal, at the end of the year, the USPS will make another designation to what the next postal increase will be. It could go up, it could go down. We're not exactly sure. It's a government entity, so we can't really determine what's going to happen. But right now, prices range between 28 and 29 cents for almost all of our customers. Postage is about 29 cents a piece, unless you're doing a really big saturation discounts where you're doing like basically canvas mailing to one zip code. And then the next factor, which is where we make all of our money off of, because we don't make any money off of postage, is that that's going to be your printing, your labor, and your management of campaigns. One of the nice things about working with a direct mail company is a managed campaign. So if you have drips or you need help with your mailing list, or the mailing went out and you're just not getting any response and you don't know why and you need help, just lean on the experts. and just look at us. That's what we do every single day and any direct mail company should do this for you, is that every single day they work with millions of mail pieces that's being delivered all around the country to millions of households. So we can look at that data and really determine how good that mailing list was and how to improve it for the long term. So in reality, for you financial people out there, our gross profit on a job is actually very low because postage makes up the majority of cost of goods sold. So keep that in mind when trying to work with a direct mail provider and actually saying, hey, how can I save some money? And really, unfortunately, postage, we're kind of deadlocked unless you're doing saturation mailings. And if you somehow are a nonprofit, you can get really low postage rates, but unfortunately we haven't run across a single real estate investor besides, say, Habitat for Humanity that has their nonprofit designation. So the other thing a lot of people ask about, especially from REIs, is timing of campaigns. So you have kind of the spectrum of REIs. So you've got one end of the spectrum where pretty much everyone's like, I've got 2 or 3 people in the office. I don't really care when mail lands. They're going to call and someone's going to pick up the phone. But if you're a mom and pop and with a family and you're trying, you're just flipping a few houses a year and someone's calling you on a Saturday, you might not be able to pick up at, 8:30 in the morning. You might be sleeping or you might be out with the kids or something might be going on. So we actually have a recommended timing schedule. Now, of course, there's 2 different classes of mail, your first class and your standard class. So most everyone uses standard class because you really don't want to pay for first class postage, and most people don't really care as long as it eventually drops. The majority of people use standard class mail, or what they call marketing class. So what we recommend is that marketing class you essentially send out from our facility either on a Thursday or a Friday. And what that enables you to do is that it essentially means that in 7 days, the bulk majority of the mail is going to drop, which gives you to the next week. You're getting appointments booked and people are actually opening up their mail on Thursdays and Fridays. The other reason why that timing is important, which doesn't work for everybody, is pretty straightforward and simple. So there's something called a countertop billboard, and that's what we call it in the industry, at least in our company we do, is that 99% of households in the United States have a place in their house that they put their mail. They might not necessarily grab the mail out of their mailbox and open it up and then see what's inside. They may actually bring it into the house and then drop it on the countertop and let it sit there for 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 days. I know in my house, even well before I did direct mail, we have a little counter space that we just kind of pile up mail, and we know what's bills and what's marketing material and stuff like that. And some of the marketing material has good messages, so I want to read it and get a good deal on something, a 20% off coupon or something like that. So I just stack everything, and then my fiance and I go and we actually look at that on either a Friday or a Saturday and act on it. Statistically, the majority of people look at their mail either on Thursdays or Fridays and then keep it over the weekend. So what you want to do is you want to try to make yourself as visible as possible on the countertop billboard by making sure that your mail's dropping Thursday or Fridays, and then they keep it over the weekend, which is another reason why a lot of REIs get Saturday and Sunday calls. So one thing we do suggest is, if you're going to be in the business REI, it's kind of a 24/7 thing. If somebody calls you and you want a deal, you kind of have no choice but to pick up the phone. And with the timing as well, it's not always guaranteed, even on first class mail. And the reason it's not guaranteed is because the mail carrier. So you at your house have a mail carrier, and that mail carrier is going to put as much mail as they possibly can into their mail van, or if it's a walking carrier, which is even worse, they can only put so much in the bag. Some walking carriers have trucks that they bring and they walk a neighborhood, but some of them, especially in urban areas, they are literally walking with a bag or a small pull cart down the road. So what ends up happening is that they'll fit as much mail as possible, the oldest mail being first, onto their basket and then try to get out. Unfortunately, some mail may have to wait until the next day. And if you have substitute carriers, that can delay it even further. So there's really no guarantee. So we all have to kind of act according. So that's basically the timing of campaigns. Really common question we get. More than happy to go more in depth. All of our marketing consultants know that stuff. We also like to talk about drip campaigns. There's 2 buckets of real estate investors out there. There's ones that do real estate or do real estate investors that do drip campaigns and ones that do not. We always recommend a drip campaign because you want to try to rail your message over and over and over again and try to get your people to make that second guess to say, or your prospective home seller, make that guess like, okay, I'm going to at least get an offer from these guys and just see what's going on. Let me explain that a little bit more. So essentially, we recommend a maximum of 5 drips. After that, there's no reason to mail them again, at least for at least 6 to 12 months, and no less than 3 drips to a particular mailing list. So we also recommend some content engagement strategies when it comes to this. So we're giving away free information in this seminar. So here's one of them. So I've got a jumbo postcard and I've got a letter, and I'm going to explain my drip schedule. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out here. Here's my recommended expert drip schedule. So your first, second, and fourth drip, you want to send a letter. You can vary the content a little bit, but you want to send a letter or a snap mailer. I'll talk about those in a second too. A postcard wants to be your third and fifth drip. Postcards are fine, but I'm going to talk about engagement. So I'm going to give you a story. So when you grab your mail out of your mailbox or your PO box, you're immediately going to make a designation on that message. So you are going to say that I care about this or I don't care about this. A letter obfuscates this message that's inside and increases engagement. So that's actual physical engagement with the mail piece. So let's say I'm getting home from work and I pull open my mailbox and then I see I want to buy your home, which I should have selected a real estate investor sample, but this is looks like a store, furniture store sample, but postcard nonetheless. So if I see this and it says, I want to buy your home, I may not be in the mood for this message right now. That's going to happen. I'm at the mailbox and the message is going to come over loud and clear almost immediately. And then I'm going to trash this. So we have unsuccessful real estate investors, direct mail campaigns that are unsuccessful. They may be successful in their home flipping, but we have people that are wondering, like, I've mailed this list like 7 times. I'm getting like less than 1% response rate every single time I mail. And we say, why don't you try out a letter campaign this one time? Then all of a sudden they're like, I'm getting 5, 6, 7% response rate. Why is that? And we basically have a pretty proven simple theory. So when you get a letter, you see that it was written to you as like the mail piece owner, and then you've got a live stamp on here for further personalization, and you got your return address. Pretty simple, easy enough. And then essentially what ends up happening is that this will go onto a counter, which is what you want. You don't want someone sitting in their car next to the mailbox or next to the road in their mailbox, or or sitting by their door grappling this piece of mail along with 50,000 other pieces of mail. What you want them to do is take this and you want them to put it on the counter and wait a day. And as crazy it sounds, that is the most effective mail campaigns out there. So once they open this up, they first have to open the envelope, so they have to rip it open. They have to pull the mail piece out. So next time you're pulling a letter from, like, even today, after you watch this video, go check your mail and think of the engagement. And it's very subliminal. You don't know what's happening because you're so used to opening up letters, but automatically with a letter, I'm engaged at this point. I'm invested. I'm going to read the content, even if it's for a few seconds. I'm going to read the content from my, hopefully, countertop billboard. So when I pull out the letter, and this is where that 20% content comes in, we recommend using, which is very popular, a little yellow line piece of paper. Also, 16-pound paper is also really important to use because it increases engagement, right? Someone's like, this is weird. This is a weird mail piece. And then they're going to read it. We recommend like a handwritten font, as you can see here. And they're going to say, okay, my message, I'd like to buy your house. I'm probably going to take this and put it in the trash. And it's gonna stick with me because it's a unique mail piece, right? It's not just a postcard. I probably got 5 other postcards I'm gonna throw in the mail. And trust me, we do postcards all day long. 75% of what we do is postcards, but we encourage letters simply because they are effective. And if you're not successful, you don't come back and do more direct mail campaigns. And we lose. So we want you to be so successful. That's our goal. If you're not successful, you're not gonna come back and do business with us. And that's the big issue. So really that simple, 16-pound handwritten yellow letter, envelope, stuffed in, sent, 5 to 7% engagement results if your mailing list is right. So that's why we just say it's simple. You don't need to do fancy color on the envelope. You don't need to do full color printing. I mean, you can. It works for some people depending where you're mailing to. Then you got a letter which basically, increases engagement. It's not anything super fancy. And you also save money that way. Letters are a little bit more expensive, not on postage, but on production, because there's a lot more to it, but it's worth the weight in gold 10 times over simply because you increase your physical engagement with the mail piece over a postcard. The other thing that we recommend is what is actually kind of cool, and a lot of people aren't doing this, and we encourage a lot of people to do it, and this is what's called a snap mailer or a pressure sealed form. So these are actually pretty old school, but they work really well. It looks like an official document. So I'm gonna hold this up a little bit closer to let it get autofocused. As you can see, it's got this kind of like arrows on it. It's perforated on each side. Try to flip this around so you can kind of see it. And then it looks like it's a check on that side. So if you're talking ultimate user engagement, which these things are not that expensive to print, you can imagine this. I'm going to show you exactly how it must go for someone. So let's say that you get a very official looking letter in the mail. You're probably going to open it, especially if it says like personal and confidential. You throw something like that on there. So someone's like, your open rates are going to be 100%. And who knows, it might be an actual real check. I know I personally now get healthcare refund checks. I get other refund checks as well. So if I get one of these, I'm opening it up guaranteed every single time. And what's kind of cool about these forms is that they were basically the glue was invented back in the 80s. And what ended up happening is that it was for high volume check processing. So like especially companies that say they had 20,000 payroll checks to send out, you really don't want to print all those out all and fold, insert, and it takes forever. So these pressure seal forms is a fast way of doing checks. But you can use it for marketing purposes. So what's happening is I have to actually rip up one side of this and then rip up the other. And there's actually instructions on here, so it actually gives you even more engagement. And what ends up happening here is I actually have to kind of pop this open. And essentially, I get my message right there. So, and a lot of what our customers do is that they might do handwriting on here. They might actually put in what's called like a zipper check, and it's kind of like the fake checks that you've seen. I have a sample here to show you in a second. But essentially, that's what all of this is. So we highly recommend kind of experimenting with the content on there. The snap mailers and the letters are around the same price. Once again, we're talking about postage is going to be what it is, and then of course the production is a little bit different. But we don't suggest people going all out in production. I just mentioned the zipper mailer. This is something like this. I can kind of show this up there if it'll focus. So you can see I pay to the order of, Tom Sample. So it looks like a check. You're kind of guaranteed open rates. And the one thing about this kind of stuff is that you want to be honest about it. When they open up the check, you want to make sure that it's something where you have variable data, like I will make you this offer. That's something our recommendation to a lot of real estate investors. We say be fair and honest and see the returns coming in. We've seen real estate investors mail out content that says you're going to be foreclosed on or whatnot, and which may not be true. So we advise against that. There's nothing illegal about that, but we advise against kind of manipulating your mailing list that way, especially if you're going to be doing a drip campaign. So that's basically the brute content of our recommendations for real estate investors. There's tons more, but really just to recap, just so you have the conclusion, you want to stick to the 40-40-20 rule. So that's number one. Number two, get a really good mailing list. You really want to get it from list source. Use Real Flow. It's really good stuff. Time your campaigns properly where you're around to answer your phone. Make sure, maybe you're not available at the end of the week. Maybe you need stuff be mailed out on Mondays or Tuesdays. Do drip campaigns. Hit people at least 3 times. If you're budget conscious, do 3 times now. When you start being a little bit more successful, do 5 times and really enrich that list. Get a really good return. We also recommend doing call tracking. That's something I didn't mention, but it's very popular and easy to do. When you buy a mailing list and you're sending out a campaign, Log on to callrail.com and for $5, just get a simple mailing list or a simple phone number and append it to your mailing list. So that way, every single phone call you get, you know it's from that mailing list. So you can improve and improve and improve over time. You'll know, like, all right, that's weird. I got a 2% call rate on this mailing list after hitting it 6 times. What's wrong with it? You look at your mailing list, you're like, that's the reason why it's crazy. I shouldn't have done that. We have a lot of people that fall in that boat, but the thing is, they get better and better and better. Just like with real estate investing, you have to invest in your marketing campaigns the same way that you invest into a home. And then, of course, structure your drips. We recommend letters for the first, second, and fourth drips, and then for the third and fifth drip, use postcards. If you want to stick to postcards, shake up the content. Do your postcard, do like a handwritten little postcard that's that is one format, then the next time use a different format, and the next time use a different format, and kind of shake it up. Use colors, lots of bright, like pop colors, neon purple and yellow and blues, and try to get people to actually see your mail piece within the stack of mail. One thing that I'll leave you with here is that direct mail is becoming a more popular format of marketing. And it's surprising because 5, 6, 7 years ago, everybody was saying direct mail is dead. I will say transactional direct mail is dying and will be dead soon. And what I mean by that is bills, invoices, all that stuff's all going paperless, which is good for direct mail because less mail equals better engagement to your mail pieces. And it also means that mail's getting cheaper. Right now, in most major metropolitan markets in the United States, and if you use Google AdWords, you know this, you're paying $2 or $3 a click at a minimum to try to be right up there in the search results. You may even be using a lead generation service where you're paying an enormous amount of money per lead, like hundreds of dollars per lead. And you might even be competing with that lead among a bunch of other people. Same thing with Google. If you're Googling, I want to sell my house, you're going to get 5, 6, 7 offers from a bunch of different home buyers in your area that you're competing against. You're not getting a great deal. Direct mail, you're able to sort out the competition, be the only one in someone's mailboxes, and get that immediate return on investment. We know people that have started in the REI business and said, I'm skipping over them. I don't even have a website. I have a phone number, and I've got a direct mail campaign, and they find their first house, they buy it for $225 and flip it for $325 on their first flip. And the thing is, they would, if that was listed on Google or the owners were going in and searching them on Google, they're getting a bunch of offers. You'd have had to buy that house for $290. That's not a good profit, but because you were the first in the mailbox, the only one in the mailbox, high equity, the person was in a situation they wanted to move, downsize, or they had a job they needed to move, or so on and so forth, direct mail is the way to go. The other thing about direct mail is that a lot of people keep the information. So they'll keep the letter, and just in case for a rainy day, if we ever need to sell the house, let's just call this person and get an offer. It is a pain out there to go and vet all these different home buyers, and there might be a bunch of wholesalers, which this works for wholesalers too, but there might just be all these different aggravating factors for a homeowner to say, I just want to call this one guy that mailed me 6 months ago. So that's also important to keep your call rail numbers active for at least a year. That's what we always recommend. If you get a call rail number, keep it for a year. So I really hope this video has been super helpful. If you're a real estate investor just getting into the game, give us a call and just talk to us. We're open to advice. We have sent hundreds of millions of mail pieces on behalf of real estate investors from everywhere from Alaska, Hawaii, a lot of REIs in Hawaii, down Florida, pretty much every nook and cranny of the United States. And we have learned a lot about how to make direct mail campaigns effective. We've also have tons of references from the companies that have been with us doing millions of dollars worth of direct mail campaigns over years, and they depend on their direct mail campaigns to support their family and their employees and their lights and electricity at their office and all this other fun stuff. So we know a whole bunch of it. Even if you don't do business with us, we have that knowledge and we're open and we're there. And we specialize in real estate investor direct mail. That's what we do. That's our bread and butter. That is what we focus on every single day. My name is Madison with Everest Direct Mail. Have a good one.